You didn't lose them because you weren't enough. You lost them because you were too available for someone who only feels safe when nothing is required of them. Listen carefully. An avoidant doesn't miss words. They don't miss explanations. They don't miss emotional speeches at 2 a.m. They miss what they can't reach. And the moment you stop chasing, the silence you create becomes louder than every message you ever sent. This isn't about manipulation. This is about finally stepping out of the role that taught them you'd always stay. If they ever feel your absence, you were taught quietly, subtly, almost invisibly that love means being understood. That if you could just explain yourself better, slower, softer, clearer, then finally they would see you. So you tried. You rehearsed conversations in your head before speaking. You rewrote messages before sending them. You swallowed anger and rephrased pain into something more reasonable. You learned to speak in a way that didn't scare them away, and every time you did that, you thought you were getting closer. But something strange happened instead. The more you tried to be understood, the further they drifted. Not because you said the wrong things, but because you kept saying them at all. Avoidant partners don't experience emotional explanation as connection. They experience it as pressure. When you explain how you feel, they don't hear vulnerability. They hear obligation. Obligation to respond. Obligation to engage. Obligation to stay present in a space they've trained themselves to escape from. So when you sit there, opening your heart, choosing honesty over silence, what they feel is not closeness. It's weight. And instinctively, they pull back from weight. They always have. Every explanation you give teaches them something. It teaches them that no matter how distant they become, you will still meet them halfway. That no matter how confused you feel, you will do the emotional labor of clarity alone. That no matter how much it hurts, you'll keep translating your inner world so they never have to step inside it. And slowly, without realizing it, you become the one holding the relationship together while they learn they don't have to. This is the part that breaks people. You weren't too much. You are too available in a space where availability removes mystery. You are emotionally generous with someone who survives by emotional minimization. You kept offering understanding to someone whose nervous system learned long ago that understanding leads to loss of control. So they distance themselves, not because they don't care, but because caring feels unsafe. When you stop trying to be understood, it feels terrifying at first. Silence feels like abandonment, especially if you've always been the one who repairs. You feel like if you don't speak, everything will collapse, but what actually collapses is the illusion that you were being heard in the first place. Because real understanding doesn't require constant explanation. Real presence doesn't need repeated justification. And someone who only stays when you soften your pain into palatable language was never meeting you fully anyway. The moment you stop explaining, something shifts, the emotional dynamic changes, you are no longer the one reaching across the gap. You stop carrying both sides of the connection. And suddenly the avoidant is left alone with something unfamiliar. The absence of emotional access, no narrative to respond to, no feelings to manage, no reassurance to lean on, just space. And space is where avoidants finally feel what they've been running from. This isn't punishment, this is alignment. You are no longer bending yourself into a shape that feels safe for someone else. You are letting the silence speak the truth you kept editing out. And that truth is simple. If someone only stays when you explain your pain gently enough, they were never prepared to hold it at all. You don't need to disappear to make an avoidant feel your absence. You don't need dramatic exits or final speeches or emotional ultimatums. In fact, those things often give them relief, because drama gives them something external to react to, something that distracts them from what they actually fear. Emotional exposure. What changes everything is when emotional access quietly shuts down. Emotional access is not about physical proximity. You can sit next to someone every day and still be emotionally unavailable, and you can be miles away while still emotionally present. Avoidants sense emotional availability the way others sense tone. They know when they can lean on you without giving much back. They know when you're still open, still waiting, still hoping, and as long as that access exists, they don't feel the loss. They feel comfort. When you remove emotional access, it's subtle. You don't announce it, you don't explain it. You simply stop offering the parts of yourself that were never protected. You stop narrating your inner state. You stop sending messages designed to keep connection alive. You stop filling the silence so they don't have to feel it. And this is where the shift happens, because avoidants don't process loss in the moment. They process it in the absence. At first, they may not notice. They may even feel relieved. The pressure is gone. The emotional conversations have stopped. Things feel lighter. But over time, something begins to unsettle them. The emotional supply they unconsciously relied on is missing. The reassurance, the consistency, the quiet knowing that you were always there, emotionally accessible, even when they withdrew, and now you're not. You're still polite, still respectful, still calm, but there's a boundary where your inner world used to be open. They sense it. They can't quite name it. And because you didn't explain the change, they can't rationalize it away. They can't label you as dramatic or needy or emotional. All they feel is distance they didn't choose. Removing emotional access forces an avoidant to confront something they rarely face. Intern. Responsibility. They can no longer rely on your emotional presence to regulate their own discomfort. They have to sit with their thoughts, their memories, the echo of conversations that never finished because you stopped carrying them forward. This is when curiosity replaces avoidance. Not because you chased less, but because you stopped offering what was always available. Emotional access, once removed, creates contrast, and contrast creates awareness. Awareness leads to reflection. And reflection is the only place where an avoidant can begin to feel absence. Coldness pushes avoidance away. Detachment pulls them inward. There is a crucial difference, and most people get it wrong because they confuse emotional restraint with emotional shutdown. Coldness communicates rejection. Detachment communicates self-possession. One triggers relief, the other triggers uncertainty. When you become cold, you confirm what avoidants already believe, that closeness leads to emotional danger. Coldness lets them retreat cleanly. Detachment doesn't. Detachment leaves the door closed without slamming it. And that ambiguity disrupts their internal script. Detached energy is grounded. It doesn't react. It doesn't demand. It doesn't explain. You're not angry. You're not pleading. You're simply no longer orienting your emotional compass around them. And for someone used to being the center of emotional gravity without earning it, that shift is destabilizing. They start noticing changes they can't define. You respond, but you don't chase. You speak, but you don't reveal. You're present, but not available in the same way. And because avoidants are hyper-aware of emotional shifts, even while pretending not to care, they sense something is different, and different feels risky. This is where the mind starts filling in gaps. Why aren't you trying anymore? Why aren't you asking for reassurance? Why, aren't you pulling them back in? Avoidants don't miss chaos, they miss predictability. And when you detach without hostility, you remove predictability without creating conflict. Detachment forces them to engage mentally rather than defensively. They start thinking instead of running, and thinking leads to memory. Memory leads to emotion. Emotion leads to absence being felt, not as pressure, but as loss. Every time you redirected your energy toward them, you delayed your own expansion. Every time you waited for a response, you paused your life. Every time you shaped your mood around their availability, you shrank your world. Redirecting energy is not about distraction. It's about reclamation. When your focus shifts inward, not obsessively, but intentionally, you begin building something that doesn't depend on their reaction. Your routines strengthen. Your sense of self stabilizes. Your emotional center stops oscillating based on someone else's nervous system. And something profound happens. You stop emitting need. Avoidants are drawn to independence not because they want distance, but because independence signals safety. When you redirect your energy into growth, you change the emotional frequency of the dynamic. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are choosing yourself in real, visible ways. This isn't performative. It's embodied, and avoidants feel embodiment even when they deny it. They notice when your life fills with momentum, when your attention is no longer tethered to their presence, when your joy doesn't require their participation. And that shift creates a paradox they can't ignore. You're no longer chasing, but you're more attractive than before. Because now if they want access, it's no longer automatic. It's earned. Silence terrifies people who've been conditioned to repair. You think silence means abandonment. You think silence means failure. But Sila, NSE is not absence. It's exposure. Silence removes the scaffolding that held the dynamic in place. And once it's gone, the truth is revealed. Silence doesn't accuse. It doesn't demand. It doesn't chase. It simply exists. And in that space, the avoidant finally hears their own thoughts, the things they avoided by staying busy, the feelings they muted by keeping distance. Silence becomes a mirror. You don't use silence to teach a lesson. You use silence to stop teaching at all. No reminders, no check-ins, no emotional breadcrumbs, just quiet consistency. And slowly, the avoidant realizes something unsettling. You're no longer trying to pull them back. That's when absence becomes real. When you evolve, you change the rules without announcing them. You don't set ultimatums. You don't explain standards. You embody them. You become someone whose presence requires intention. Someone whose emotional world is protected. Someone who no longer allows casual access to something that was once freely given. Avoidants return easily to familiarity, but they hesitate when familiarity no longer exists. When they sense that re-entry would require effort, that effort would require presence, that presence would require vulnerability, and vulnerability is the one thing they can't fake. By becoming someone they can't re-enter casually, you remove the safety net. You are no longer an emotional backup plan. You are no longer a guaranteed source of connection. And that realization lingers because now your absence isn't just felt. It's permanent unless they change. You were never asking for too much. You were asking the wrong person to meet you in a place they never learned how to stand. That distinction matters because it releases you from the belief that love failed because you were flawed. Love didn't fail. You simply reached the edge of someone else's emotional capacity and mistook it for your own limitation. What you've learned here is not how to make someone miss you. It's how to stop disappearing inside yourself to keep someone comfortable. The absence that finally reaches an avoidant isn't created by tactics or timing. It's created the moment you stop bending your truth into a shape that feels safe for them but costly for you. There is a quiet dignity in no longer explaining your pain to someone who avoids feeling it. There is strength in withholding access, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. When you stop overgiving clarity, reassurance, and emotional labor, you reclaim something essential, your inner authority. And from that place, you no longer need to be chosen to feel whole. Absence works not because it punishes, but because it reveals. It removes the emotional scaffolding that kept the connection standing. It exposes what was real, what was one-sided, and what only survived because you kept holding it together. And once you see that clearly, you stop romanticizing the effort you were making alone. You may never know exactly when or how your absence is felt. Avoidants rarely announce it. They feel it in quiet moments, in unexpected memories, in the absence of your emotional availability that once regulated their distance. And whether they return or not becomes less important, because by then you've already returned to yourself. This is the turning point where love stops being about proving worth and starts being about honoring alignment. You no longer chase connection at the cost of peace. You no longer trade authenticity for closeness. You allow relationships to meet you where you stand, or you walk forward without them. And in doing so, you become someone who cannot be loved halfway. Someone who does not need to be pursued to feel valuable. Someone whose presence is no longer free, but earned through consistency, presence, and emotionea. Courage. If an avoidant ever feels your absence, it won't be because you vanished. It will be because you became grounded, because you stopped performing emotional availability and started embodying self-respect, because you chose depth over attachment and truth over waiting. This is not an ending. It's a recalibration, a return to self. A quiet but powerful decision to no longer abandon yourself in hopes that someone else will stay. And that decision, whether they feel it or not, changes everything. Thank you for staying present through this message. If these words reached something personal in you, honor that awareness. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And remember, the strongest form of connection begins with how deeply you stand with yourself. Until next time, take care of your heart and goodbye.